And are you planning to continue working with designers in the same way, building different collaborative teams of designers for different projects, rather than having, obviously you're the creative director of the company, but you seem to have avoided having a design director as well, so you can have a more varied language?
Yeah, I think it's just, I mean, you either go the route of a kind of house style and you try and make your style the connective tissue for your brand, or you take each moment one at a time and try and make sense of it. So, you know, compact fluorescent is already a sort of dwindling technology, actually. Although luckily we're in the process of moving the one to LED. But you can see even in the time between when we launched and now, it's already, things have moved on a great deal. So I was just saying to Claire before we came on that we're doing a product revision at the moment with the 3, where we're using an LED chip, which is pre-standard issue these days, and it warms as it dims, so it emulates the incandescent. So obviously, it's not just the light intensity that drops; it goes redder, it goes more orange as it dims because it's burning white, and then it goes dim, and it creates a really lovely atmosphere, right? So the 3 will, the next revision will have that built into the 3. So yeah, I mean, it's a moving feast because the technology behind is changing so fast, and hopefully as well, if we can get the volume, if we can sell more volumes and get our bond prices down, then we can also start reducing the cost and make it more accessible right across the board.
Great. And if I can bring Samuel and Claire back in, and we can talk very quickly generally about the issues facing you as designers in the UK at the moment. I mean, what do you consider to be the sort of big challenges you need to grapple with now and over the next couple of years? And also, what are the opportunities that really interest you? So starting with you, Samuel.
For me, it was always trying to kind of go for clients that are way outside my remit. I mean, I started to travel around Europe, go to trade shows, get to know people. Because design's kind of quite a globalized thing, and you can work just as tightly as somebody in Shenzhen as somebody in Lancashire. And to make a kind of a business as a designer is not easy, so you need to just look at all options. So for me, it was looking globally, and that was the way that it's helped me kind of expand and do very different types of projects depending on who you're working with.
And it sounds as though you're not tempted to pursue the entrepreneurial route as Claire and Nicolas have done.
I think a lot of other designers have done that because commercially it can be a lot more beneficial and maybe not easier, but different. I love being a designer and I don't want to give that up. So, and I feel like now it takes a long time to get to respect, to work with bigger and bigger manufacturers in the very kind of specific area. And now I've developed that portfolio that doors are opening more and more. Even if you win awards, it doesn't matter. You just need to build this portfolio that people respect that. And that's happening at the moment, so that's really exciting.
And Claire, what for you, again, the challenges and the opportunities?
I think challenges at the moment, I think as I've worked sort of direct with retailers and things, I think retail is quite a weird space at the moment. I think retail is, it's changing massively from becoming that, and as consumers, we're buying things in very different ways than we did before. So previously, kind of going into stores and then kind of taking objects away is a very different space. But actually, because of the way that people are buying things these days, actually, as a designer, being able to produce your own objects, it is allowing you more of a platform that you don't have to go through those sort of formal retail channels anymore, and that's quite an interesting space to be in. Really.
Totally, I think that's really important. I do entrepreneurial stuff. We work with small manufacturers and you help them launch marketing and everything like that. And I think now through things like Kickstarter, it allows somebody, anyone, if they've got a great idea and they can make a little video of it, they could 3D print it. It doesn't have to be the real object. But you can sell that to a global audience, get people really invested in it, and then make the project. That's fantastic. That didn't happen before. So anyone can do that, and that's the exciting thing now. And I think that leads to more innovation, because big companies get set in their processes of how they develop things.
And
where
take a
some-
long time to
Yeah.
develop things. Take, working seasons and seasons in advance, whereas you can do things quite quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that Nicolas was groaning about taking 3 years to do both the 1 and the 3. I mean, a friend who's a product designer works for Floss, which is one of the world's most prestigious lighting manufacturers in Italy. They take anything up to 8 years to get a design to industrial production, which obviously is massively frustrating for the hapless designer.
Especially when you're waiting for royalties.
Well, then you wait another 8 years for those. So again, for you, Nicolas, you've obviously, with Plumen, I mean, you've had a wonderful success at grappling with a political and social issue you really care about, and producing really ingeniously designed products that have made a difference and are working commercially. I mean, are the challenges for you to sort of do that, but on a larger scale and better, or are there other issues you want to grapple with?
Well, I think it's still so little, and for us, and for me, the struggle is to get it on a footing where we don't have 10 ideas in the wings that we can't launch just because we don't have the resources to do it. Yeah, I mean, it's such a thrill to make stuff and get it out there. And we've got a bunch of ideas, and because of this timing thing, you are conscious. I mean, I think for Smart, we've got one kind of ready to go, but it's too much of a stretch to get it out. But there is a risk you kind of miss the boat with these things.
Do you manufacture at all in the UK?
We don't. No, we don't. Light bulbs you can't manufacture. I think there's one factory in Germany. I think we looked at. Nothing in the UK anymore has moved out a long time ago. I mean, it was one of the things that left earlier. You might get, there might be some new kind of craft bulbs going on, I'd imagine.
There are
somewhere.
some small places, I think, but doing anything of any scale to make a price point,
No, although one thing we do already, almost by sort of accident, is we work with an Italian 3D printing business called Formalized, and I basically run the Pinterest board because I'm just interested, and it's like, I try to feed my sensibilities, so I just, kind of run the board because I get to see everything and I get to see all the new stuff flowing through, and also get a sense of what people feel about things because of the way they comment, and I just kept seeing this thing called a cayenne, which is a little 3D printed shade, really lovely little thing. And I just wrote them an email, said, love your thing, can you do one that's just like a bit more kind of framing the Plumen, because it was perforated, so you could see the shape of the light bulb, but it just pushed back the glare a bit for certain applications. 1 week later, it turned up as an object in a box. And it was like, whoa, and it wasn't quite right, so we just sort of said, maybe a bit, and then, 1 week later it turned up. It was like, should we just start selling these things? Like, yeah, sure. So we just figured out a little price model for it, and then you can order it off the website, and then they print it and stick it in the post. It's just awesome. So we're working on a project with a Brunel. He's in the graduating year, and we'll be doing a 3D printing, a printed shade with him, which we will, not just manufacture in the UK, we'll just manufacture wherever the demand comes from. So if somebody orders it, it will take us a while to set it up, but I think the principle is interesting, which is if somebody orders in Australia, we'll print it in Australia.